Welcome everyone to our Air Journey webinar today. My name is Shannon Taylor. I'm part of the Air Journey team and I help with the journey development and planning process along with the rest of our amazing team behind the scenes. We are very excited to have you here with us as we explore new destinations on the Pilatus journey to Europe in August later this year. In just a moment, I will turn it over to Terry Pooley, the founder and CEO of Air Journey. Before I do that, I want to touch base with all of you and let you know that Terry will be watching for your questions in the question box, which is over on the right-hand side of your screen. Please feel free to send any questions that you might have, and Terry will read those on your behalf when we get to the Q&A portion of today's webinar. We are also recording today, and we will make the video available to all of you, so you will have access to this after it has ended. So let's get started with our presentation. And once again, I'd like to welcome you to our Air Journey webinar today. We are here to talk about the Pilatus journey to Europe in August, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to the founder and CEO of Air Journey, Terry Pooley.
Thank you very much, Shannon. Welcome, everyone. And we're going to be together for the next 35-40 minutes to discover the Pilatus journey to Europe. So a little presentation of the company. Air Journey was set up 25 years ago, more like a fun idea than to make a real business. But since then, 25 years, we've done a lot of things, been to many countries, gone around the world several times. Hopefully next year will be our 10th time we go around the world. So my name, as Shannon mentioned to you, is Terry Pooley, and let me describe a little bit to you Air Journey at the beginning, and then we're going to go straight into diving the Pilatus journey to Stans and Europe. So the concept of Air Journey is to show pilots that the world is limitless when you fly your own airplane. Every one of our escorted journey has a journey director on board, and everything is pre-arranged. So all of the headaches are gone. We take care of all the paperwork, we take care of all the flight planning, and of course the land arrangement side take care of all the hotel reservation, transfer, sightseeing, and exclusive activities on the ground. So you can see here the boss and the real boss on the right side. We've flown often in PC-12. Unfortunately, I never owned one, but I certainly enjoy the plane very much and its capabilities. So the concept of Air Journey is that we spend up to 3 nights at each destination. We make sure that we use the best available hotel in order to really make the destination enjoyable. We have local expert guide who are going to take us on the tours, most of them off the beaten path, since the destination are places you might have already been. All our dinner and lunch are a la carte. There is no preset menu. You decide whatever you want. Every arrival transfer is made a la carte. What we mean by that, we have 1 transfer per airplane. So we might have slow plane, fast pilot, fast plane, slow pilot. Doesn't matter. You don't have to wait for the rest of the group to be transferred to the destination hotel. It's fully guided, and our journey director are experienced. For this particular journey to Europe and visiting Stans, journey director is Jill Glatz, which some of you might know, is from the Pilatus team, is bringing and ferrying Pilatus across the Atlantic. Very knowledgeable, and of course, he is Swiss. Our journey don't take more than 6 airplanes together. This is mostly because of the ATC rules crossing the Atlantic. We're all going to be flying at about the same altitude, so there's separation, there's block airspace. So 6 airplanes the maximum we can deal with. Air Journey handle all of the flight planning, and you're going to see through the presentation that prior to every flight, we do provide you a full briefing of what to expect the next day, as well as you're going to see the details on how we go for this briefing, but also how the briefing is shared with you. We keep a very close eye on the weather. I'm not shy to say I'm a weather chicken. If the weather is not to our liking, we're not going anywhere. We're doing that for fun. We don't have to maintain a schedule like the airline. Weather is bad, we're not going. We don't do any night flying either. That's against our rules. So at Air Journey, we have separate team. We have the journey director, the person who's going to be with you for the duration of the journey. And we have a land and flight support team separate here in the office. A team organize all the flight planning, parking, overflight, fuel release, etc. And then the land arrangement is everything related to land with hotels, your light, your dislike. If you want anything special like massage or things like that, they will organize all of that for you. So let's review the date and our journey. We're going to be meeting in Quebec City, and we're going to be meeting there on the August 27 to start the crossing of the Atlantic. Our first stop overnight is going to be Kangerlussuaq in Greenland, and we will go there maybe with a stop in Kuujjuaq. We'll see the distance need to be flown. The next day we're on to Reykjavik, and then down to Ireland, Normandy in France, Menorca in the Balearic Island. We go on to Stans, Zurich Airport most likely, unless the weather is beautiful, and we'll land at Stans, and we'll stay at Bergenstock. And then on the way back, we'll stop again in Reykjavik before flying on to Ilulissat, one of the most amazing places on Earth, close to the circle, the polar circle, as well as Cisco Bay with the fastest moving iceberg in the world. And then back home through Goose if need be for fuel, and then Bangor will be the place we stop. 20 days total, leaving on the 27th of August, coming back on the 15th of September. 8,200 nautical miles. We're going to be visiting 2 continents and 7 countries along the way. A little preview of the itinerary. That's what we're all here for, to listen what we're going to be seeing. So the countries visiting are Canada at the beginning, Greenland, Iceland, Ireland, France, Spain, and Switzerland. I could also add Scotland on the way back, since most likely we'll do a stop there, but Scotland is not a country. During the pace of the journey, the pace is going to be very simple. We do spend one night at the stop in Quebec City, Kangerlussuaq, and Ilulissat, and then 3 nights at the most important place, Reykjavik in Iceland, Shannon in Ireland, Normandy, and we forget to put down Menorca, sorry, and then Zurich Bergenstock Hotel. Another thing for the ladies who join us on the journey, we try not to do any departure in the morning from the hotel before 9 a.m. We have a little bit of limitation if there's a weather issues or slot, but most likely 9 a.m. is when we leave the hotel. Let's discover the itinerary. So putting down here the distance of every one of the legs. So Quebec City to Kuujjuaq, Northern Canada, 690 nautical mile, and then another 725 to go to Kangerlussuaq overnight. Next day we go on to Reykjavik, 730. Then the next day we'll go to Shannon, about 800 nautical mile. That's an idea of the crossing. Pretty good pace, but taking our time. And again, we're going to be doing that at the end of August, so we still have plenty of daylight for the journey. Quebec City, the hotel choice there is Chateau Frontenac, right there above the old part of Quebec City. It's a very unique place, and this is where we're going to be meeting the other participant, the journey director, as well as around a nice welcome cocktail. We'll provide a very detailed briefing of what to expect during the journey, as well as what to expect for the next day legs, and we'll pass on all the goodies, which include coats and shirts and hats. As you can see, a bit of yellow on the table. In Europe, you need to have the yellow vest at the airport, so provide them to you. And then we have a very nice dinner getting ready for the next day. Next day will take us to Kangerlussuaq, Greenland. Pretty amazing, interesting place that was built during the Second World War. That's where all of the bombers and fighters built in the US were taken over to Europe. The runway is about 8,000 feet long. They offer a LOC DME approach, not an ILS. They also have radar and an RNAV available. Very unique place, very convenient. And the building you see on the photo here on the left side, it's the hotel we're going to be staying at, so right down at the terminal. This will be again a detailed briefing for the next day flight. Over the briefing, we're going to go over the details of how to do a position reporting, talking to the radio, preparing all of these details. So all of that would be part of the briefing, first, of course, in Quebec City, But again, in Kuujjuaq, I mean in Kangerlussuaq, since we're going to be continuing with Icelandic radio all the way to Reykjavik. Next up, Reykjavik. We're going to be staying downtown Reykjavik at the Hotel Borg, a unique Grand Dame who's been there a number of years. It's in the middle of the city, so everything is within walking distance. And the second day we're going to be there, we're going to be enjoying the visit of the countryside, and then towards the end of the day, we'll enjoy the Sky Lagoon excursion, where you're going to be swimming in that pool, which is constantly heated with the local water coming from all these volcano and geyser along the way. Reykjavik also became a very nice gourmet place. There's a number of stunning restaurants, a lot of creativity. If you want to go on the wilder side, you can go with the puffin, or you can go with some well meat, but you can also stay very main course and enjoy some very attractive creation from the local chef. Next day, we're going to leave Ireland and we're going to go to Iceland. This destination is Shannon. That was one of the main places before the jet age came, that most of the 4-engine piston were going all the way to the US, stopping in Shannon to take advantage of the last refueling before crossing the Atlantic on the shortest distance. Our hotel there will be at Dromoland Castle, which is a very stunning place. And during there, we can enjoy the property itself. There's a lot of things to be done. Falconry, something I would highly recommend. You can do fishing on the lake. There's horseback riding. There's a beautiful golf course. There's clay shooting. And on the excursion, we're going to go to that flying museum to see the only B314 flying boat. It's a replica who's been within the world. Beautiful property, beautiful place. Next slide over here is showing us what's going to happen after we leave Shannon to go through Europe and then back to the US. So next stop after Ireland is going to be Normandy. We're going to go to Deauville. After that, down to Menorca in the middle of the Med, then up to Zurich, Bergenstock, and Stans, and then we'll do a fuel stop somewhere in northern Scotland before flying to Reykjavik overnight, and then on to Ilulissat to see Disco Bay, and then back home. So let's go a little bit about Normandy. That's a place that we've been using on our journey many times over. The chateau belonged to a French family, but the same French family since the 1100. Denis de Kergolay, he's a count, he speaks beautiful English, and hopefully with his own property, he has so many tales to tell us from the history of the chateau itself. It's also located not far away from all the D-Day locations, so we'll be visiting the American Cemetery, we'll be visiting some monument over there. There's also some local cheese. It's a very unique place, very unique destination. And the time of the year we're going to be there is certainly one of the best ones to enjoy the scenery. We have an escorted journey during the day, visiting the place and going to some local restaurant. Next up, it's going to be Spain, going to Menorca. Menorca is part of the Balearic Island. You might know Ibiza. I'm sure you heard about Mallorca, the big island, but you have not heard of Menorca, which is a small island to the north of the Avetus, which is right in the center of the Med, same distance from Barcelona, then Sardinia, then the French coast, as well as the Algerian coast, has been off the beaten path for a number of years. And I personally discovered the island back in 2017. Loved the place, bought a little place over there, and spent some summer. Very unique, very low-key, a lot of walking, a lot of discovery. And that beautiful photo here show you the emerald color of what you can see during the island. Our place over there is a unique hotel called Toalbeck, not far away from the center of town, but still you need to take a car or transfer to go there. But it's also a winery, and during our stay, we'll be enjoying the local wine through degustation, and we'll discover some of the other hidden charms of that beautiful, unique place. Then from Menorca on to Switzerland. And what you see on the photo here is the Bergenstock Hotel place, right on the side of the cliff overlooking Lake Lucerne. And while we are in Bergenstock, we'll take advantage, of course, to visit Stans and the factory, the beautiful way the Swiss put together the airplane, very unique facilities, very modern, very well done, like a Swiss watch. It's certainly a very enjoyable stop. We can't do a stop there. We have a little bit of shopping, and Lucerne will be the place we're going to go. Again, if the weather is fine, we're going to be going from the Bergenstock down to the lake and then on a cruise across to Lucerne. Beautiful, small town, lots of activities and very Swiss. A couple of photos here of the factory. As you can see, it's a very big hall, has been built brand new and very clean. Couple of sites over there. The day we don't go to the factory, the next day we'll visit the surrounding area and go up one of the Alps lookout point. Very enjoyable destination. Then on the way back, we'll fly from Zurich Stans towards Reykjavik, an overnight, and then the next day we'll fly on to Ilulissat in Greenland. Runway there is 2,800 feet, which is very capable for the PC-12. And as you can see, we're going to be staying in a hotel, which is on the top right over here, called the Arctic. What you see there is our Igloo's room. We're not staying there. We're staying in the main building, but we're right there in front of that ocean full of iceberg, and it's the fastest moving iceberg in the world, or glacier, I should say, which break off onto iceberg. We'll do a cruise, enjoy the body, the beauty scenery, the birds. Sometimes we see these big fish, whales, and so on. Exciting destination. And then from there, we're going to go slowly back to the US. What we love on this journey is the group dynamic. Usually, as I say, limited to 6 airplanes, but PC-12 is a very capable airplane. So you can bring friends, you can bring families. They can join you for the duration of the journey, or they can meet you in Europe, flying commercial. Whatever question you have, we'll be very happy to answer them and give you a different quote of what need to happen. Let's go over now some of the details of the journey, and let's start with the packing and luggage. We want to make sure you don't take the house with you. The PC-12 can easily carry a number of things, but there's only 2 ends we have, so make sure everything is on wheels. It'd be nice if you can get the luggage organized by weather type, hot and cold. Keep in mind that along the way there's a laundry available, and we negotiate rate with the laundry places, so you can take advantage of that. We'll provide you also with luggage tags. On one side, you will have the tail number of the plane. On the other side, you're going to have your name, which is easy. When we check into the hotel, they know who belongs to who. And when we show up at the hotel again, the FBO, the handler, will know where to drop the luggage by the plane. Little temperature chart, that's for the time of the year in our journey. We're going to be between the 80s and the 40s. 40s is wrong because it's in Ilulissat by the fjord, but you're going to be very easily around the 70 degrees throughout the journey. Very, very pleasant. Money side, keep in mind that if you do carry cash, it's no more than $10,000 per couple, not per airplane, per couple. And we should say also, if you bring family, and if the family live on the same roof, it's $10,000 per family. If you want to hide the money in the plane, you can do that. Why would we need cash? Throughout the journey, credit cards are very easily used. It's just if you want to buy any souvenirs or anything like that. So it's not totally required. Everything related to the expense for the plane on the journey, fuel-wise, we're going to be doing that for fuel release. The handling fees at the airport, we're going to be wiring the payment on your behalf from the office. So we don't need that much cash along the way. On the credit card side, let your banks know you're going to be traveling so they don't put any hold on the card. Amex is well used, but mostly Visa, MasterCard, and make sure that you have the new type of card with a little chip, which makes life a little easier. We also are going to talk about currency. The only two currency needed will be the US dollar, Canadian, since we're living out of Quebec, and the euro when we are in Europe. So if you have a debit card, you can get some euro directly through the ATM machine, and whatever is left, you can use it for souvenir or pay some of the extra at the hotel. So let's go more into the flying aspect of the journey now. Flying abroad is going to be slightly different of what we do here in the US. On the left side, we talk about international flying. The altimeter setting is going to be switched to millibars throughout all your flight in Europe. The other big change for the people who haven't been to Europe is that the transition level and transition altitude are changing with every airport. As you know, in the US, it's 18,000 or flight level 180. In Europe, depending on the airport, can be 2,000, 3,000, 5,000. All of this is listed on the approach plate, and that's one of the details we're going to go through the different briefing we're going to provide you. Altitude mostly through the journey will be in feet, so let's not worry about meters. But the big difference with the US is that in Europe, you don't start the engine until you have a startup clearance. So you need to ask for startup clearance before you can start the engine. We're going to go over a position report, review and what is needed for a position report, but you also, and we'll teach you how to create user waypoints, because this position report will be assigned to you by ATC, and they vary most of the time, so you need to be able to create them in your system. ADS-B MNPS requirement, if you are not RVSM in the US flying at 280, that's what will happen through Europe and crossing the Atlantic. If you are RVSM to cross over Greenland, you would need to have a MNPS LOA, which is complicated to receive. So I think we'll file everybody all the way up to 280 and leave it there. On the ATC communication, it's going to be English all the way, with, of course, local accent. We're going to be making sure you have the clarity of speech, speak slowly, and enunciate whatever needs to be done, and the controller should be doing the same thing on the way, on returning your question, answer, and clearance. It's very basic on the phraseology. We're not going to create anything fancy. And in Europe, or as soon as you leave Canada, instead of mentioning Pilatus 22 Tango Alpha, you're going to have to say November 22 Tango Alpha. They don't recognize the type of aircraft. They want to have the full tail number mentioned on the radio. And while you're flying to one destination, it's always nice to have the next flight plan ready, and you can load it into the GPS machine to make life a little easier for the startup of the next leg. Again, as we've discussed before, we pay very close attention to safety. So night operation is banned, and bad weather, we're not going. We keep an attention of the world situation. Going to Europe, hopefully nothing will happen, but if we go further away, you know, if there's any safety issues on the ground, political unrest and so on, we simply avoid. We're not taking any chance. We're also going to go through slots in Europe. You don't have that here in the US. So there's going to be separation, departure. Usually it's about 10 minutes aside from airplane, but do make sure you do have an eye on what the slot time is in order for you to not miss it and have him to refile the whole journey, the whole flight. Fuel, we usually do fuel on arrival. It's technically safer. You know, if the fuel truck do break, and that does happen, you're not going to have any delay. So we do the fueling on arrival. And we keep an eye, of course, on the airport environment. I mentioned on the goodies, you're going to be receiving the yellow vest. In Europe, as soon as you step off the plane, you're going to be working on the tarmac. You do need to wear the yellow vest, and your passenger too. If they stay with you, if they get transferred to the terminal, then they don't need to. But anybody is going to be working around the airplane airplane need to wear that yellow vest. So now let's go into what Air Journey is going to be providing you. We have created what we call the Air Journey app, which is usable on the iPhone as well as on the iPad. And that allows us basically, as you can see on details here on the left side, that's the main photo of part of a briefing. But on the right side, if you can see, in that application, we have different file folder. They're going to be the itinerary, the participant, the hotel list, that's for the passenger. But for the pilot, we're going to have the flight briefing, we're going to have the copy of the flight plan, we're going to have a for-flight link, we're going to have the fuel release, we're going to have the plane document, copies of the passport, and so on. So everything is in one place. And the beauty of the application is that we, from the office, are going to be pushing all of these documents directly to your iPhone or your iPad. You don't have to do anything. The only thing, make sure you're connected to the internet, but you don't have like an email to open the email, download the attachment, and then store the attachment anywhere on your iPad. This is done all automatically, and it's accessible in one place. So we did that during COVID, and it's been very, very well received, very useful document. This is more details of the different things you see over there. There's one thing we provide you also is the conversion chart between pound, liters, and gallon. Make life a lot easier than trying to get a calculator and see what's going to happen there. So through the preparation of the journey, you're going to have to update your chart and your nav data. Again, we've negotiated with Jepsen attractive saving on these documentation. So as soon as you reserve on the journey, we go on with Jepsen, find out what kind of subscription you have, and we'll make it available. We also, on a side note, keep an eye on where and when the next database upgrade is going to be available, making sure we can download that on the fast internet connection and not in the middle of nowhere in Greenland, in Kangerlussuaq. That's not the best place to do that. So let's go a little details on the flight briefing. I don't have the whole exposure over here, but we use that with the iPad. And in the review we do are going to be the route itself, what you can expect for departure, when you can expect for the en route, what you can expect on the arrival, and we do study the approach. We take a look if there's any gotcha or anything to be known, as well, of course, as the ground procedure. It's slightly different of what's happening in the US. As I mentioned previously, you're going to have a transition altitude, which are different in every airport in Europe than in the US. Some of the ILS approach might have more than a 3-degree slope. You might see 3.5, sometimes 4. So we review these kind of things too. And then we pay a close attention to the weather. So part of the brief, we provide you with the TAF, the METAR, the window loft. If there's any NOTAM, very important for the journey. We look at any kind of satellite photo, as well as whenever there's radar available. And one of the things we also do during our journey, we have our family channel, 136.95, which is set on COM2 in each of the airplane, and that's how the journey director can talk to you. Usually the journey director is in the first airplane. He's going to be flying first, and on the family channel, report back to you to let you know the latest ATIS, the latest runway. If there's anything to look at or if there's any question, he's always listening. That's bring you a big plus and safety matter on the journey itself. Now we go to survival equipment. You're flying a single engine over the Nordic Ocean, so you do need to have a raft on board the plane for the number of passenger and crew you have, and that raft need to have a canopy and a ladder, basically be approved for use in a northern country. Every passenger in the plane need to have a life jacket, and you also, because of single engine, need to have a Gumby suit, that's the gentleman there in red, for each one of the person inside the plane. When we are in Quebec City, we'll do a demonstration on how to put that Gumby suit on, and then it's up to you if you want to wear it while flying or if you want to have it ready in the back of the cabin, and if anything should happen, go and put it on. It's always a good idea to try it on before you go on the journey. Air Journey has a number of Gumby suits to rent, so if you need one, we'll reserve one for you. It's pretty cheap rental, and then we send them over to you to your home so you can use them and see how to wear them while at home and not in a hurry at the hotel in Quebec City or in the plane. And the other thing we mentioned too is EPIRB, sat phone and tracking device. So another thing in Europe, going back to what I mentioned before, we do need to ask for the startup clearance. And you're not going to do that while the engine is running. So instead of depleting the ship battery, it's better to have a handheld radio, and you can do that from outside. You can do that for the inside. There's a couple of gotcha you need to pay attention to. If you don't have one, you need to get one. Make sure it's one who has a 5 amps transmission, so it's pretty strong and can go from the tarmac to the tower. Also, the ones sold in the US mostly came with a 110 volt charger. For whatever reason, they don't provide them with the choice of 110 or 220 or 240. So do make sure that the charger you have is adapted for Europe, and you won't have the surprise of seeing smoke coming out of the charger. The one latest version I have as a battery powered version. I got a little pack of battery, and I remove the whatever battery, lithium battery they have on the handle, and I put the battery. It's always ready, always to go, and no danger of making it smoke out of the outlet. If you want to, if you don't need a device like this one, the Garmin InReach is a very nice tool that you crank up as soon as you take off to let the family members staying at home where you are, where you're going. That can also be used two-way communication through text message. People can reach you all the time, and we can also get through the InReach the basic and the premium weather. Track the plane, and if anything happens, it's also an SOS capability. Fuel. I mentioned previously that we do the fuel on arrival. We do organize all the fuel release. We want to make sure you have a fuel card, World Fuel, one of your Titan Fuel, one of the other one, but we'll secure all the fuel release on your behalf. Fuel is done on arrival. As I mentioned before, we have the conversion chart, so to know how many gallons, liter, and so on. The fuel price for Europe, as preparing for this webinar, is $5.33 a gallon. That will go up, that will go down. We'll keep you posted. But keep in mind that in Europe, the fuel is not pre-mixed, and you will need to bring with you the can of Priest. Each one of the can do about 100 and 150 gallons. So we'll review with you how many cans are needed to operate the journey. Then when you go to Europe, mentioning before, the fueling is done on arrival through the fueler. There is no FBO like in the US, where the fuel is done at the same time as the FBO. It's a separate company. So the local handler will take you to the FBO. There's one FBO, there will be fees, there's going to be custom immigration, there's going to be parking things, landing fees, sometime over a flight. And I mentioned before, we take care of all of that for you. We set up an account before you leave on the journey, and Air Journey would be wiring the money for the group as needed after we get approval from you, or let you know at least what the amount of the fees are. We do negotiate the fees. Next thing, hurdle to look at on the journey to Europe, you need insurance, and there's two types of insurance. There's the aircraft insurance, the hull insurance. If anything should happen, make sure the plane is covered. But Europe, since 2001, want to have each aircraft carrying an amount of excess liability based on the weight of the airplane. So in the case of the PC-12, you will need to have 10 million liability insurance excess on your program. If it's a PC-24, you're going to need all the way up to 26 million. And then beside the airplane, you need about $338,000 per passenger of liability insurance. Let us know if you have any problem securing that insurance. Lately, it's becoming more and more difficult, but we have set up our own excess liability insurance, only the excess liability, nothing else, insurance program through our Air Journey Club, which is basically a umbrella policy, and everybody buy into it. So any issues on insurance you might have, give us a call and we'll be happy to explain the ins and outs, but most important, how to get the main insurance for your broker. The other thing too, for the peace of mind, we do offer trip cancellation insurance. That's done through AIG, Travel Guard for the people who heard the name. It's based on the age of the participant. It's based on the state in the US they live in. So need to pay attention to all of that. Our expert here in-house will be happy to answer the call and give you a quote. Keep in mind that the cancellation insurance as well as medical insurance cover everything related to medical issues. If the plane become AOG, unfortunately, an AOG airplane is not covered by the cancellation insurance through Travel Guard. And now this come to an end on this webinar. I'm trying to see if there's any question I can answer. You can use the question on the right side of your screen. I see a question over here. Can we bring a passenger along the way? Yes, you can. A matter of fact, we already have 3 airplanes who have joined on the journey. And I think the average for this 3 airplane is 2 couple per airplane. Journey director. Is a journey director assigned an airplane? No, not yet. Gilles, who is going to be doing the journey, expert on the PC-12, is still available. So the first participant who want to have Gilles flying with him, let us know. We'll make it happen. There's no additional cost. It's part of the program. The only request we have is that Gilles, of course, be on the right seat up front so he can monitor the rest of the group. Next question. Yes, when you're going to be in the Med early September, temperature is going to be very pleasant. We have an outing done on the in the Med. We're going to be discovering all this cove in Menorca, and you'll be happy to swim at that time. All right, I think that's all what I have as of now. So thank you very much for attending the webinar. In the next 24 hours, we're going to be sending you a little email thanking you for attending, but also a link because this webinar has been recorded and you will be receiving a recorded version. And again, feel free to call us, email us for any question. We'll be happy to answer them, and I'll be very happy to see you on the journey. So long.